A collective view by unions on jobs held by foreigners. Lae Police confiscate weapons from students. And dwellers give Lae City a chance to celebrate.
This is National EMTV News with Hope Imaka.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. This is Monday's news. The Victoria's Lae City dwellers arrived late yesterday at Lae's Nadzab Airport to a rousing welcome by more than 300 football-crazy fans carrying Morobe Province flags. The army of fans lined the airport fence well before the Air Niugini flight arrived. They chanted as other passengers disembarked and erupted into a celebratory frenzy when the players emerged bearing the NSL Cup. Scott Wider reports from Lae.
Some of the fans made the 15-kilometer trip by any means possible. There were jubilant scenes well before the players disembarked, and when they did, with the Chief of Staff of the Governor's office bearing the NSL Cup with the players, the crowd erupted. The dwellers, many still taking in the victory from the day before, remained calm as they stood for a photo session and then walked into the terminal. Outside, impatient supporters lined the cramped space next to the baggage claim area. Then, as the players emerged, another celebration. Coach Peter Gunemba, who shaped and molded the team, was overwhelmed. It took some time before he was able to speak.
Very emotional. I'm not expecting to like but I must through long. Our supporters stop now, make him give me life necessary. Go long me, and they are special to me, very special.
Amidst the cuts to the Morobe provincial government budget, the Tutumang still allocated $1 million kina to the Lae City dwellers for its development and management. That investment came back with a return, a 2-0 victory over Hikari United on Saturday, making the dwellers National Soccer League champions of 2016.
I always maintained in the past that Hikari has already set a standard, and what all the next soccer teams in the country should do is to lift up. Try to catch up with Hikari.
Later, a convoy of vehicles drove from Nadzab Airport to Lae amidst a noisy fanfare of blaring horns. Along the way, fans lined the road from the airport to the city. The 20-minute trip took the provincial football heroes past dancing women, screaming children and kids who ran alongside the bus to greet the players.
The team is now looking at bigger challenges, although Coach Peter Gunemba hasn't said what they are. Now, the financial returns may not have been much, but how football united this city and province yesterday was priceless. Scott Wider, National EMTV News, Lae.
The Telecom National Soccer League was carried live by EMTV on Saturday at 3 p.m. We'll show you the highlights of the game in Trukai Sports later in the bulletin. Director of the National Research Institute, Dr. Charles Yala, says though Port Moresby and Lae cities were competently designed, the plans were unable to dictate the real development in the cities. Dr. Yala says this is evident in the increase of informal settlements, illegal development, and the unequal distribution of services in both towns. These issues are captured in a report NRI will be presenting in Lae on Wednesday.
In a media statement released this afternoon, Dr. Yala said the planning and recent development in both cities over the last 40 years has gone in opposing directions. By this, he meant the creation of new residential areas and the construction of business houses on the outskirts of Port Moresby and Lae are not properly planned. And as a result, it may be affecting the flow of government services into these areas. But while much focus is on Port Moresby and Lae, other provincial towns are also facing increasing rural-urban drift. Many people come to major towns because the access to government services is much quicker and the opportunity to find employment higher. But Dr. Yala says the report that will be released on Wednesday captures alternatives that support the implementation of the national government policies. These strategies include the 4 cities policies, affordable land and housing, and voluntarily customary land registration. The report will be launched in collaboration with the Morobe Provincial Administration, the Lae Chamber of Commerce, and the University of Technology. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Non-government organization Voice of Melanesia is to stage a peaceful protest to Parliament tomorrow. Organizer Paul Master says the protest is to seek the government's response to its 20-page petition for an economic and systematic independence for PNG. The group expects Prime Minister Peter O'Neill to be there in person and to respond. The peaceful march will begin at Unagi Oval through Gordons and finishes at the Parliament House. The NGO group says despite being a rich country, the economy is in a sad state. The coalition of unions representing workers from state-owned enterprises held a gathering today to show solidarity on issues raised from member organizations. The gathering held at Jack Pittock Park today attracted members from the Communications Workers Union, Energy Workers Union and Maritime and Transport Workers Union.
The members of the union started showing up for the meeting by 10 a.m. today.
Thank you, long you Plagata members again come. And this should be a stage to show that the union means business. A letter has been written to the Prime Minister expressing the concern of the SOE employees, and no response has been received, and that's the reason why we are here.
Another letter has been written as a follow-up of the initial letter to the Prime Minister. Top of the agenda for discussion was job security, especially Telecom's current spill and fill exercise and PPL's management.
Our leaders in this country has opened up the way for these guys to come and occupy the most executive top positions. And because of their decisions, you and I are becoming the great victim in our own country.
They say they held a gathering at this time to coincide with Parliament sitting because they want other parliamentarians to acknowledge their issues.
Call from the workers that parliamentarians must now see that Papua New Guineans are now being displaced at the place of work. Papua New Guineans are now being seen to be the second class of workers in PNG. So this is where the union is now saying and calling for the removal of these expatriates.
The coalition of unions was formed in 2014 and today they showed up as a body to show support for what they term are industrial issues. The union's executives say the government, specifically calling out the Prime Minister as being silent on their issues.
He is not addressing your need and my need. This need to be changed, this need to be told. Prime Minister and his government need to be told this today and onwards. They must listen to the cry of the workers.
Executive of the coalition say this is the start of a historical move by the unions and they expect even more members to show up here at Jack Pittock Park tomorrow. Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
NASFAN CEO Ian Tarutia has issued a word of caution saying NASFAN members are using their savings as a short-term savings facility and not thinking about the long term. He said in the last 3 years, NASFAN has experienced an increase in the number of withdrawals from its members. They are doing payouts either in full or partial payments on a monthly basis.
Superannuation's primary role is to assist its members save their money during their active employment for retirement in the future. This will also assist them not to live off their family members and relatives. Currently, there is a growing number of withdrawal applications.
The gap between what we receive on a monthly basis and what we're paying out to members on a monthly basis is decreasing. What it's telling us is that members are still using the superannuation savings as a short term.
The current economic environment in which the country is facing is partly responsible for the increase in the number of withdrawal applications. Many businesses are cutting down on costs, and as a result, it is affecting some of the workforce. Members are withdrawing their superannuation savings early after they used up their other means of savings.
When they leave employment and then they exhaust the other means of savings, then because the Act allows early withdrawal, then members are coming and applying for a withdrawal of their funds, either full or impartial.
This is one of the things Nest Fund is now monitoring, as it also poses a challenge to its long-term strategy. They are also pushing the message of long-term savings to assist members understand the importance of saving for life after retirement.
To address this problem, Nest Fund has created the Kids Savings Account. This is in line with the savings culture. The Kids Savings Account is to encourage parents to start saving for their children at an early age. It also helps discipline children to have the culture of savings. Mata Luis, National EMTV News, Lae.
Malaria, the mosquito-transmitted disease, is curable, but many people are still dying from it, especially for those in the remote areas of the country. Rachel Shise in Madang takes a look at the statistics of the Madang Town Clinic's malaria patients, giving a contrast of how the malaria situation back in the remote areas is worse than it may seem.
The Madang Town Clinic, situated within the town area, sees more than 20 malaria patients a day.
471 patients for month of February, and I see about 25 patients a day. That's a bit too much for me.
Patients are coming in from all over Madang to the clinic, including those who should be treated by the Modilon General Hospital.
Now patients are coming in from Modilon Hospital and nearly all parts of Madang. They come in here to get their blood checked for malaria parasites.
Sombari, the only lab technician found in any clinics in the province, says at times some of the patients go into fits.
We have many people coming, especially the children. Some adults, they fit. They go into convulsion and fits. Where I do my part first, and then the rest comes later.
Now the problem may be partly because the patients are running to the town clinic, since it's the only clinic with a laboratory technician like Barbara who can really treat them. This, or simply the health centers nearest to them are not in good conditions and don't have medicine to help them.
It takes about some 20 to 30 minutes for just the first lot, like first five come in, and then I do the same. It comes onto the microscope, goes out, and then another 5. So while I'm doing that, it takes the whole morning.
Given the statistics of the Madang Town Clinic, seeing more than 20 malaria patients a day for 365 days a year is quite a sum for a curable disease. Now that is just the Madang province, featuring just one of its urban clinics' statistics. Think of what statistics of the other clinics put together may mean for the remote parts of the country. Rachel Shise, National EMTV News, Madang.
National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Dozens of homemade weapons were confiscated on Saturday from a group of secondary and primary school students who were conducting what appeared to be a handover ceremony for leaders involved in school-based group fights. The weapons included knives and barbed arrows used as projectiles in what's commonly known as wire catapults. Police arrested the students at a tip-off. The students are mainly from Bugandi and Makam Road Primary School.
Police are yet to release an official statement on what happened on Saturday
Following a tip-off from the community, a police unit was sent to Lae Block on the peripheries of Lae City, where they found up to 20 students. Some were in grade 12, some in grade 8. The youngest was in grade 4. They came from various schools in Lae City. The students were questioned and detained for several hours. What is disturbing is that the gathering appeared to follow some organization and included younger students. Police confiscated these weapons. The barbed arrows are launched from handheld catapults like this. Lae Police have dealt with many instances where people have been shot and killed with weapons like this. They're very easy to make and deadly if the projectiles strike vital organs like the eyes, brain or the liver. The gathering on Saturday didn't lead to any violence, but police were quick to neutralize the violence. Over the last 5 years, there have been instances where teenagers have been killed in student-related violence. Now communities are being urged to be vigilant and to report any such gatherings to police. Scott Wide, National EMTV News, Lae.
Police have confirmed that one of 2 men killed by members of the Busarum settlement after the drunken rampage was a recent prison escapee. On Saturday afternoon, 2 men who were under the influence went to Taweng Market and destroyed tables and chased women and children. The community then mobilized and killed them. Police say one of the men was an escapee from the recent breakout at Buemo. He is believed to have been involved in several robberies.
Been confirmed as an escapee. He was arrested and charged 2 years ago for a murder case along the back road. Friends and relatives, well, they retaliated back to the community who attacked and killed those 2. So a couple of houses were burnt and police are in the location and monitoring the situation.
A man in his early 20s from Southern Highlands province was shot and injured by a group of men on the Magi Highway just outside Port Moresby at the weekend. It is alleged the group of men are police officers. The victim's brother, Jack Wessel, told EMTV News that he was the target, but the group ended up shooting his brother instead. Jack Wessel spoke to EMTV News today.
Jack Wessel, the brother of the victim, claims the men were after him, but he was out of town. The men were alleged to be under the influence of alcohol and were driving in 4 unmarked vehicles. Wessel, who was a former police officer, claimed that his younger brother was shot at close range with a pistol.
Upon learning of that, I have 3 boys who look after the place. When they approached these guys, one was grabbed. Without no warning, they shot him point blank. One officer held him on the elbow like this. The other one with a handgun shot both legs. When he fell down, the other guy came to his rescue. They started shooting at him, so the other 2 ran away.
Wessel's brother is receiving treatment to both his legs. The bullet went through his left ankle and landed on his right toes. Wessel claimed the policemen are bodyguards to one of the senior police officers in NCD. He has filed a formal complaint at the Boroko police station. Police are yet to investigate and identify the persons involved.
Apparently, I don't know what the reason is. I have not even a single criminal record against me. I don't have any complaint whatsoever raised at any police station in NCD. I'm a private citizen. And I'm a very, very respected citizen. But what has happened? If police have anything to do with me or any questions or any inquiries or any allegations, I live in a police accommodation at Tashin Police Barracks. They should come and courtesy call me or write to me.
Despite 2016, a year of discipline declared by Police Commissioner Gary Baki, police brutality cases are on the rise, especially in NCD. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
Manus police have arrested one of the 2 robbers involved in an armed robbery at the Lorengau Enterprise about 2 weeks ago. Kelly Kuo, aged 25, of Colwyn Village in Lorengau, was arrested last week by members of a special police operation that is underway in the province. Acting Provincial Police Commander Senior Inspector David Yapu said the suspect has been charged for armed robbery and will appear in court tomorrow while his accomplice is still at large. Senior Inspector Yapu said Kuo and the men held up Lorengau Enterprise and stole about 49,000 kina in cash and store goods worth over 71,000 kina. The two suspects also slashed the arm of an Indian shop assistant during the robbery before fleeing with the loot. This is the first major armed holdup in Lorengau town this year, and Manus Police have since issued stern warning to the public to crack down on serious crimes. And now looking at our finance news. The kina closed at $0.3265 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3190 US, $0.4169 Australian dollars, €0.2799 euro, and 35.31 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold closed lower, coffee, copra, and cocoa closed higher. Palm oil closed higher, and crude oil and copper closed lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 120.81 points higher, the ASX closed at 16.52 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 14.45 points lower. More local and international news when we come back, including President Obama's visit to Cuba. Welcome back to the news. 2015 grade 8 students within Morobe are yet to receive their school certificates from the Provincial Education Office. According to Morobe's Provincial Education Advisor, Keith Jiram, the delay is because a wrong signature was placed on all certificates. He says an IT officer from the Education Department was flown in from Port Moresby 2 weeks ago to correct the technical problem. District education managers have been advised to inform students' parents of the delay. Many parents all over Morobe's 9 districts are yet to know why their children have not received certificates. The education advisor says his officers will have finished printing and delivering all certificates to primary schools by mid-April. Television discussion program Tanim Ground last week recorded a panel discussion on the decentralization of government through the District Development Authority, a concept set up in 2014. National Planning Minister Charles Abel says that is already working, and people in remote parts of PNG are seeing services unlike before. But other public servants on the panel still think that the DDA will only cause more confusion on the power of each level of government.
The national government passed a bill allowing a new body of government to be formed called the Development District Authority. The DDA runs on the 10 million kina from the District Service Implementation Fund. The authority was set up as an implementation body that will encourage development at a local level.
We are taking a resource envelope that has existed since independence, and we are now pushing it down closer to our people.
Under the DDA Act 2014, it states in Section 8A and B that the DDA would cooperate with the provincial government and not perform any of its function or exercise any of its power in a way that is inconsistent with policies and plans of the provincial government. West New Britain Governor Sasindre Muthuvel said that creating a new government body would cause confusion amongst the 3 already established levels of government. He also added that the DDA would be fully dependent on DSIP funds, and if funding did not come through, the DDA would be handicapped.
I want to see that there is another level of government created, within the system. We have enough governments. We have 3 levels of governments. We don't want, 4th level of government again.
Abel insisted that the DDA is an implementation body that is there to bring services to the people, and that the provincial government would need to work with the authority. He said due to low oil prices, the government had to cut funds, giving only 5 million kina to districts this year. Abel says it depends on people who head the DDA and the district members on how they allocate money to get services to their people.
Let me just say, it is the government's attempt to try and get services to the people. It's an organised, enthusiastic leader that cares for the people and works, tries to support government systems, not undermine them. is the key.
Julie Bengi from Western Highlands Health Authority says that they haven't received 20 million kina last year and the cost of drugs and infrastructure development is high. She said they had not discussed yet with the DDAs on how they can work together, but she hopes they can help bring health services to the people.
The workforce, and then the DDAs can take over the infrastructure development. That probably is the way we see us working together. But as yet, we have not really sat down to deciding and determining who does what and who does the other.
Abel says provincial governments and health authorities need to work with DDAs and for district members to set up DDAs in each district. So far, only 5 districts of 29 have district development authorities set up. Adelaide Siraks Kari, National, MTV News.
Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull said today that he will dissolve both houses of parliament and call an early election for July 2nd if a parliamentary sitting next month fails to pass the government's labour reform bills. The Senate passed voting reforms on Friday after a marathon session, clearing the way for Turnbull to call an early election to end a hostile upper house Senate. The budget, he says, would also be moved forward by 1 week to May 3rd.
Today, I called upon His Excellency the Governor-General to advise him to recall both Houses of Parliament on April 18 to consider and pass the Australian Building and Construction Commission bills and the Registered Organisation Bill, and he has made a proclamation to that effect. I make no apology for interrupting Senators' 7-week break to bring them back to deal with this legislation. This is an opportunity for the Senate to do its job of legislating rather than filibustering. The go-slows and obstruction by Labor and the Greens on this key legislation must end. The Senate will have an additional 3 sitting weeks to deal with the ABCC and registered organisations legislation. Plenty of time to pass these important laws. If the Senate fails to pass these laws, I will advise the Governor-General to dissolve both Houses of Parliament and issue writs for an election.
An election is due by January 2017 but has been expected to be called for the second half of 2016. In order to call such a poll, Turnbull needs a piece of legislation twice defeated by the Senate as the trigger.
Because such a double dissolution must be done on or before the 11th of May, the government will be bringing the budget forward to Tuesday the 3rd of May.
Independent and minor party senators elected at the last election in 2013 have stalled key aspects of the government's agenda, including changes that would make higher education and healthcare more expensive and limit access to welfare. The Senate voting reforms would make it harder for smaller parties to enter parliament through vote-sharing deals. Turnbull argued that by eliminating these parties from parliament, he would be able to pass key economic reforms. Vanessa Knight, MTV World News.
President Barack Obama toured Old Havana yesterday on a historic visit that opens a new chapter in U.S. engagement with the island's government after decades of animosity between the former Cold War rivals. The tour opens his 3-day trip, the first by a U.S. president to Cuba in 88 years.
It is the conclusion of a diplomatic opening announced by Obama and Cuban President Raul Castro in December 2014. Ending a Cold War-era estrangement that began when the Cuban Revolution ousted a pro-American government in 1959. Obama, who abandoned a long-time U.S. policy of trying to isolate Cuba, wants to make his shift irreversible, but major obstacles remain to full normalization of ties, and the Democratic president's critics at home say the visit is premature. Substantial differences remain between the two countries, including the one-party rule in Cuba and the repression of political dissidents, while the Cubans call for an end to the economic embargo and the U.S. naval base at Guantanamo. Vanessa Knight, MTV World News.
To the elections in the United States, the Republican frontrunner Donald Trump has repeatedly said he does not condone violence, but the crowds that Trump draws have never reacted kindly to protesters.
Despite assurances from the Republican frontrunner,
there's no violence, there's love fest. These are love fests.
Confrontations between protesters and supporters have become routine at Donald Trump's campaign events.
Knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. I will pay for the legal fees, I promise.
As crowds cheer on,
like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
And seemingly echo the billionaire businessman's heated rhetoric.
The next time we see him, we might have to kill him.
Tensions between Trump's fans and his most vocal detractors boiled over last week, forcing him to cancel an event at the University of Illinois in Chicago. Shortly after, fists were flying, with skirmishes pouring into the streets. Trump accused Democratic candidate Bernie Sanders of playing a role in inciting the protests.
I don't even call them protesters, I call them disruptors. A lot of them come from Bernie Sanders, whether he wants to say it or not, and if he says no, then he's lying.
And he's downplayed the confrontation.
There's no violence. I mean, nobody's been hurt.
The hectic atmosphere of Trump's crowds even found its way onto the stage at a rally in Dayton, Ohio on Saturday. A 22-year-old protester tried to jump on stage and snatch Trump's microphone, leaving Trump bewildered, with Secret Service officers rushing to his defense. While the Secret Service has protected Trump for months, private security now appears to be playing a bigger role in keeping him out of harm's way. On Monday, the campaign had anyone attending a rally in Ohio bust in from about 7 miles away.
Well, I haven't noticed that much of a difference. We've always had the Secret Service around, and you know, I feel very secure.
As the Republican race moves closer to the Cleveland convention in July, concerns are mounting. Not only that protests may continue to follow Trump, but that anything short of a Trump nomination could lead to clashes on the floor of the convention itself.
Colombia's second largest rebel group has freed a soldier hostage held for more than 6 weeks. This was revealed by the International Committee of the Red Cross, who says the release follows a government condition for the start of peace talks.
The National Liberation Army, or ELN, released Shair de Aces Visar to representatives of the ICRC and the Roman Catholic Church, the humanitarian organization said in a statement.
My heart is also happy for this new chance at life, because it's an opportunity to live. Thank you, God.
Visar was captured by the guerrillas on February 3rd and was held in rural Antioquia province. The Archbishop of Cali spoke to local media about the freed man's state of mind.
Jair de Jesus estaba muy sereno.
Shair de Jesus was very calm, in good health, was checked out by a doctor of the Red Cross. He was very calm until the moment he got on the helicopter. At that moment,
estuvo muy tranquilo hasta el momento en que fue a despegar el helicóptero.
He got excited, and the tears came out.
En ese momento se conmocionó y se le vinieron las lágrimas.
The 2,000-strong ELN has been conducting exploratory talks with the Colombian government, but President Juan Manuel Santos has repeatedly said formal negotiations will not begin until Visar and a civilian hostage were freed. Civilian Ramon Jose Cabrales from eastern Norte de Santander province has been held by the group for more than 6 months. The Santos administration began peace talks with the larger FARC rebel group in late 2012. Vanessa Knight, EMTV World News.
Trukai Sports is next. We'll show you that winning performance by NSL champions Lae City Dwellers.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. To football now, the Lae City Dwellers won the Telecom National Soccer League Grand Final for the second time over 9-time champion Hekari United in a thrilling and entertaining contest. Skipper Raymond Gunemba was the man of the moment, scoring 2 goals to give his side a 2-0 victory over Hekari at the Sir John Guy Stadium on Saturday.
Beating both players and Tuti Zamatanito this time.
In the last meeting, Lae City dwellers lost 5-0 to Hekari United, and it was assault on the wound. But in the grand final, Peter Gunemba coach side were physically, mentally and spiritually focused. And when the chanting of Morobian fans gaining momentum in the stadium, the Reds' fanatic fans were no different. Hekari started the match with fast ball movements in the midfield, with string of passes putting Upaiga and Semi on the move. Nerves were showing on the players, with number of foul plays committed on both sides. The first half was scoreless. It was as if the game was set for a tiebreaker in the second half. However, Hekari appeared dominant with aggressive attacking and some skillful ball movements in the second half, keeping the game on dwellers' territory. But then the deadlock was broken in the 50th minute when skipper Raymond Gunemba's corner went in.
That looked like he was in. That appeared to be the first goal of the match.
The match got physical after that, with almost equal yellow cards handed to both sides. Korea Kupaiga and Tommy Sami had a couple of shots taken, but it was either saved or off target. And in a sudden twist of fate, Hekari defender Semi Campbell laid back a misjudged pass to Tekieta Remuera when a lurking Gunemba sneak up to Remuera and strike past Leslie Kalai. In the 80th minute to silence the Reds.
From a defender, instead of passing it vertically in front of you, you pass it horizontally to your teammate, and somebody else gets in.
Korea Kupaiga got the Golden Boot player of the tournament for scoring most goals in this season.
I praised a lot for this victory. God gave us this victory. I'm very, very pleased, and I thank God for this.
Congratulate Lae City dwellers for the win, and for the grand finalists, well done to them, congratulations, and they played well and they finished their chances and they deserve the win.
And with just second year in the 2015-2016 NSL season, Lae City dwellers have proven once again, when it comes to the biggest of occasion in the competition, they will be a force to be reckoned with. Shane Soroya, National EMTV Sports.
Coach of NSL champion team, the Lae City Dwellers, Peter Gunemba, says with the grand final win, the Morobe province will be to invest in facilities and coaching to develop football in the province. Gunemba, who arrived in Lae with the team yesterday, is looking to greater challenges in 2016.
It's proper when I must come up coaching, development plan from the bottom come on top. Now this National Soccer League must be properly sponsored by franchise owners. Give him good plan money, look at him more good players. Now from this level, I'm looking through development of semi-professional soccer and challenge the country, going to go come up professional. As for us, we play top 10 kilo, gaman belum play more bronze.
The PNG men's football team has assembled in Port Moresby today ahead of their two friendlies against the Solomon Islands national team, which begins on Thursday. The squad is dominated by grand finalist Hekari United and newly crowned Telkom NSL champions Lae City Dwellers.
Flemming Saritzlev, the national coach, had earlier stated that he would use the friendlies to gauge the team as a unit.
I'm first of all looking at the individual abilities of the players, and because that's what you need to have skillful players when you are competing on highest level. And then I'm very much looking at the mentality. How do they react if things are not going so well as they wanted them to do?
Prior to the win by now back-to-back champions Lae City Dwellers, midfielder Obed Bika and centre-back Valentine Nelson had been rewarded by call-ups. As well as defenders Sammy Campbell and Felix Comalong from Hekari, and also Philip Stephen, one of only two Rapatona players. The squad is blessed with attacking talent, with Raymond Gunemba, Nigel Dabinyaba, NSL Golden Boot winner Korea Kupaiga, and Rapatona's Patrick Isa, whom Saritzlev has labelled an exciting talent.
You mean the mentality also, but of course it's important. it's not necessary that all of them are friends, but they should all have the same goal, and that would be to make as good results as possible for Papua New Guinea.
The squad will travel on Tuesday to Honiara, with 15 players backing up from Saturday's grand final, which was a combination of both brutal one-on-one challenges and individual finesse. However, Hekare manageress Avoni Capinato did express her disappointment in the timing of the friendlies, with the majority of her squad, 13 in fact, all traveling for national duties on the eve of the OFC Champions League.
Friendly game. They have to know that OFC Championship is representing Papua New Guinea also. And their return is just only 3 days before our team travels. And when you look at it, who our coach will train for our preparation in New Zealand. And lo me feel him osem. They should have done that, prepare that last before the NSL started, knowing very well there's events coming up.
Sereslev will use these as the first test for a side that has not had many opportunities to play over the years. And after the short stint by the team in the Solomon Islands, they will then prepare for Korea on the 5th of May. Jeremy Moggy, National, EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. I'll be right back.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The Ski World Cup season ended in a picturesque Swiss resort. The favourites were reminded that the potential misfortune is always lurking around the next corner. Even the eventual winners had to navigate unexpected pitfalls.
It's been a season of spectacular highs and breathtaking lows. A year that started with a display of dominance from Norwegian star Axel Lund Svindal, who looked certain to run away with the overall title until this. A season-ending injury on the unforgiving Hanenkam, leaving the door open to teammate Henrik Kristoffersen and closest competitor Marcel Hirscher to race for the title. It was a similar story for the women. Lindsey Vonn, seemingly free from injury for the first time in months, set about breaking every ski record in the book. Only to come crashing down in the final weeks of the season, narrowly missing out on the overall title, but still picking up her 20th blow for downhill.
It's always hard to end the season early, and to still be able to get a title is really incredible, and I'm so happy. It's been an amazing season. Unfortunately, I ended it early, but still, I'm really proud of what I've accomplished.
With Vonn gone, the path was clear for Lara Gut to give the home crowd the moment they'd been waiting for, the first overall title for a Swiss female skier in 21 years.
It's special. It's special to win something at home and to win that in Switzerland. So yeah, it's cool.
But it's history maker Marcel Hirscher who has really stolen the show this season, taking the men's overall title for a record 5th year in a row. However, winning hasn't come easy for the Austrian superstar in a season where he narrowly avoided being crushed by a falling drone.
That was more than a close call, and it was a lucky moment.
You're glad there's no more drones on the World Cup circuit?
I'm really glad about it. And, you know, the whole season was sometimes, it was not fun, it was scary. Stolen skis, fallen drones, wrong glasses in your goggles. I mean, it was a hard fight and it was a challenging season, but I never sitting here at the finals that relaxed.
Relaxed and relieved to be king of the mountain for another year.
That's it in sports. The weather details when we come back.
Sports. Trukai Sports.
Your weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, occasional showers with chances of developing to rain for Port Moresby, showers for Daru, some rain for Kerema, and showers developing to rain for Alatau and Popondetta. In the Mumase region, rain with showers for Lae, rain with thunderstorms for Madang, rain with occasional thunderstorms for Wewak, and showers developing to rain for Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands, rain with thunderstorms for all centres. And in the Highlands region, rain with occasional thunderstorms and fog for Mount Hagen, rain with occasional thunderstorms for Goroka, Mendi, Wabek and Kundiawa. Before we go, our top stories again. A show of strength by unions on jobs held by foreigners. Lae Police confiscate weapons from students. And dwellers give Lae City a chance to celebrate after their back-to-back NSL victories. That's been the news, sports and weather today, Monday, the 21st of March 2016. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Hope Imaka. Pleasant viewing. Good night.